Hello everyone, Joe Santana here, Chairman of the I4CP CDO Board, and I'm here to give you my take on the January 2017 virtual board meeting that just ended a little while ago. So when it comes to ERGs and BRGs, as some organization called them, we can revive that old commercial slogan that said, "You've come a long way." These groups have really evolved over the years, and the better news is that according to our January meeting, there's still an opportunity for them to develop even more and drive even more value to employees, the company, and the communities around them. In fact, according to our guest speaker, one study that was done in one organization showed that an ERG was bringing back, and by the way, this was not the highest, this was not the top value or return on investment, but the lowest, a 1,200% return on investment. How many investments are there in an organization that can claim that? So listening again to our speaker, who was Dr. Vu Pham, chair of Elevate, here are a couple of things that I picked up in terms of some of the elements that make for these high-performing ERGs. So one key element to their success is that they have a marketplace focus. They take advantage of the great opportunities that are out there for ERGs to really help organizations, in many cases, to expand their markets globally through some of the social relationships that exist within their membership. Second thing, in terms of how these ERGs better align themselves to the business, is that they're taught, the leaders of the ERGs are taught about the business so that they can see and they can better seize business opportunities as they come along. So they're really primed to see when a business opportunity comes along and to articulate how they might be able to add value. And finally, in terms of how these ERGs and groups and their leaders can achieve more without putting more of their time into it. Remember, these people are all volunteers, so we can't overtax their time. One of the things that came out of the discussion was that this is done primarily by looking for basically doing less activity, but focusing on doing less in terms of activity, but activities that have more impact, activities that have sort of a multiplier effect. So an example of this might be an activity that through that one activity you actually achieve some type of a social event that allows people to network together and at the same time creates an opportunity for a new market, discovering a new market. So looking for those intersections where you can get multiple benefits out of one activity was one of the ways that was discussed. Another thing that was discussed is also being able to find activities where multiple groups can participate. So instead of having 4 different activities by, let's say, the Hispanic group, the Asian group, the women's group, and other groups in the organization, to, let's say, for example, reach out to a particular community, what about partnering them together and having one? By the way, that also spreads the load in terms of all the different people that are involved. It involves more people instead of really concentrating it on just a few people who are now duplicating each other's effort. So all great ideas that came out of the presentation. After Dr. Pham's presentation, the board members shared their perspectives on what's working in their ERGs and BRGs relative to driving market, workforce, workplace, and community success. A couple of things that came up were that some of these ERGs are already performing in terms of helping the organization secure talent, develop talent, and other things in those areas. But in terms of what's not perfect yet, clearly one of the things that came back as a recurring theme was the lack of formal selection, role identification, duty identification, and so forth for sponsors. So there certainly was a need for a little more in that area, and also a lack of standard leadership competencies across the different people that were managing or leading ERGs in different companies. So you might have in one company 6 or 7 ERGs, but the different people that comprise the leadership of each of these ERGs had different skill sets, some of which were better suited for that role and some lesser so. So there was clearly an opportunity there for some improvement and some development. And we talked a little bit about what I4CP could do in terms of research to help some of these organizations to address those gaps, and clearly helping to find out how organizations are formalizing these sponsorship roles, and maybe coming up with some ideas of how sponsorship roles can be formalized in terms of how we select people for them, how we what we tell them they have to do, how their role is different from and relates to the role of the people who are the actual leaders, day-to-day leaders of the ERGs. These are all things that came up. Certainly another area to explore is how the ERG leaders and their members can be better prepared to understand the business of the organization, the language of the firm's core business, and to see opportunities and to be able to identify when they and their groups can also lend value to any opportunities that they see out there in the business. So overall, I think it was a very insightful meeting that opened up some interesting areas for future inquiry with regards to ERGs and BRGs. And there's more to come on this topic after we collect the results of our next survey. So I look forward to seeing all of you in our meeting in Scottsdale, Arizona on March 20th. For more on that meeting, see my 2-minute pre-meeting video that's coming out soon. And thanks for tuning in. Bye-bye for now.